Hey everyone, Rob here from Gunfather Milsim. Today I'm bringing you a gun review, namely the A&K M24, which is obviously a bolt-action sniper rifle tailored after the Remington 700. Now, I've been doing this gun review for a couple days. Started out, one of my teammates, Bernie, gave me this gun to review. I was just going to review it and then give it back to him, and then after a couple days he said, you know what, just keep it. And then I had to look into, well, I'm going to upgrade it, and I started looking into upgrades for it. And in that process, I gained a bunch of new information about where you can take this gun, maybe the different paths you can take. And I thought maybe that information was almost more important than the initial review of the gun. So I'm basically refilming this. I'm going to show you the internals review here in a few minutes, and I'm going to mysteriously change clothes because I filmed it a couple days ago. But I'm redoing the externals and the performance, and maybe giving you some hints on where you can take this gun. Because when it comes to bolt-action sniper rifles, you don't buy them, you build them. And there's what the gun is when you buy it, and then there's where you can take it. And if the gun's amazing when you buy it, but you can't take it anywhere, well, that's not going to do you any good. Alright, so you got to kind of know both parts of that equation. So let's start with the price. This gun on eBike right now is $150. That's amazing. It's a great price for what you're getting. On Airsoft GI, I think I saw it for $115, but they're out of stock. This gun's been around for about 3 years, so this is not exactly a new item. It's been called the VSR-10 killer by some people. Not that I think it's going to knock the VSR-10 off the throne, but they call it that because as an entry-level gun, it has a lot of parts that most guns don't come with. A lot of advantages right off the bat that you'd have to spend a bunch of money on, let's say a VSR-10 or a clone of it, to get it performing where you want. Specifically, it's got 90 degree trigger, steel trigger sears, and aluminum piston. Those three things are huge. So starting with those three things, you can upgrade the spring for like $10 and be north of 500 and be pretty deep in the sniper game for $160. That's pretty unheard of. So let's talk about the externals for starters. Very well built compared to VSR-10. It's much heavier. I believe I read it was 6.5 pounds that it weighs in at. The stock doesn't feel hollow. It's not the heaviest stock in the world, but when you take it apart, you can't really find a way to get into the stock and fill up any voids. So I'm not sure exactly what the status of it is, but it doesn't feel hollow. It's got a texture on it that it's pretty nice, is what it is. It's nice, makes it feel nicer than just a smooth plastic. As far as plastic and metal goes, everything that's metal on this gun is metal on the real gun. Everything that's plastic on this gun is plastic on the real gun, or versions of the real gun. So your barrel, your rail, your trigger guard, all this stuff is metal. The gun comes with 3 sling points. They got the extra one in front for the bipod. I don't use bipods on airsoft sniper rifles because it's kind of pointless in my opinion, but it's a nice, touch that you can use that. You can have that. The barrel is really long. It's fluted, which is, obviously aesthetic, and that's pretty cool. One of the issues you're going to run into with this gun is you're not going to be able to find a different barrel for it. So this is what you have. You're stuck with it. If you want to cut it off and chop it off, you're probably going to run into some issues, given I've noticed this model does not have barrel spacers. Correction. It does have barrel spacers, but they're kind of like permanently built into the barrel. So if you chop off the barrel, you're chopping off your barrel spacers with it. Now, can you buy aftermarket ones, plastic ones, and put them in there in the place? Absolutely. But just understand that this thing has barrel spacers built into it. Also, there's, near as I could tell, 2 different versions of this gun. And I'm pretty sure this is the newer version. The older version, I believe, had a blue piston. This one has a black piston. The older version also had barrel spacers. It didn't have that permanent built-in barrel spacer I was just telling you about. Other than that, they're very similar. The 2 models, as near as I can tell. The rail is kind of garbage. This scope rail. It's 20 millimeter. It's an airsoft scope rail. It works great for airsoft scopes. It works like shit for real scopes. I tried putting a couple ring sets on it that I have laying around. None of them fit square, and I'm going to upgrade that for about $30 just as soon as I can. In fact, I ordered the parts today, so they're on their way. Other than that, it's got some nice fit and finish. It's got this trapdoor area where you can put cartridges in the real gun. It's just for looks. The trigger pull, I don't really get too crazy about trigger pulls in airsoft, but it's good. There's nothing bad about it. It's kind of a long creep, but that's airsoft. The butt pad has this kind of modification where you can wind it and move it out, adjust your length of pull for specific to you, the shooter. I don't really like this feature. I think it's just one more thing that can kind of get gummed up and can rust, and it's just one more moving part that can break. I would rather just have the gun come with some stock spacers that we can throw in there and adjust to where you want it and just leave it. But that's just me. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so I always just bring it all the way in and leave it. But some people like that. You know, it's good. When I received this, it had an orange kind of flash hider deal on there, which is common with U.S. Customs. One complaint, it was difficult to remove, and it looked like whoever put it on there made like 3 different attempts to put it on there, so it actually damaged the kind of the crown of the rifle, crown of the muzzle. You can see it there. There's multiple holes there from somebody probably in China trying to install that and doing a shit job, so I gotta clean that up. This gun does have a threaded barrel. Once you remove the orange protective cap thing, you can take off and you have a threaded barrel here. You can buy an adapter for like 20 bucks on any number of airsoft sites that will let you put on a 14 millimeter counterclockwise adapter on here, so you can put suppressors and whatnot on it. I don't really like doing that stuff. I just leave it as is. But the parts are out there to do it, and it does have a threaded muzzle on there. Real quick note on the magazine. This is kind of a weak point. So it's got these plastic magazines, and everything in airsoft is made of plastic. I don't have a lot of faith in airsoft plastic. It's usually shit. Magpul's essentially plastic, and their stuff's great, never breaks. And airsoft's garbage. These hold about, they say they hold 24. I found they held about 20. That is not a lot. Fortunately, they're very affordable. I think they're $8 on Evike. I already ordered 2 more of them. But this could definitely use some improvement. The good thing about it is they definitely go in with no problem, and I haven't had any feeding issues whatsoever. Every time I've been shooting this gun, I haven't had a lot of time shooting it, but definitely several hundred rounds, and I haven't had a single failure to feed yet. And I wish, you know, I can't say the same thing for my VSR10. It sometimes has some issues feeding. It's rare, but it does. These have fed every time. The other nice thing is it's a good positive click. You know what's in. The detent to remove it is actually on the magazine, not on the gun like a VSR10 has a little button here. I don't know which one I prefer. The VSR10 one can be problematic. This seems to work pretty well. Is it going to break in the future? Maybe. But for only $8, I can just buy another one. This might be hard to activate when you're wearing gloves, but so is the button on a VSR10, so it is what it is. So if you're going to find a reason to gripe, this would be it. Quick note on compatibility. I've read that the Snow Wolf M24 magazines will fit and feed flawlessly in this gun. If those work, then the Echo One M28 one should work as well, because the Echo One M28 and the Snow Wolf M24 are essentially the same gun. This gun is not like those 2 guns. It has a lot of differences. Those 2 guns have a 45-degree trigger sear and a plastic piston. This one has a 90-degree trigger sear and aluminum piston. However, I believe the body and the barrel of those guns and this gun probably came out of the same factory. I believe they have similar hop-ups. They're both APS-2. Does that mean that those hop-ups will work in this gun? I have no idea. They very well may. If you're going to look for parts that were compatible, I would probably start with the Snow Wolf M24 and the Echo One M28. I've been scouring the internet for the last 2 days trying to determine the compatibility options for this gun. It's been out since 2017. You would think that there'd be a lot of information out there about it, but surprisingly there is not. So a lot of what I'm telling you is based on little snippets I've read here and there on different forums and my personal observations. That's kind of part of the problem with upgrading these guns, and that's kind of the advantage of getting a VSR10, because there's so much aftermarket support for a VSR10, it just doesn't matter. You can rebuild the whole damn gun. Lord knows I've rebuilt mine just from parts entirely. You can't do that with this. The good news is it costs $150, so worst case you just buy another one. There's so much bang for your buck coming out of this gun. Other than that, actual performance. I was pretty pleased with it out the box. I chronoed at about 428 FPS with .2s. It varied by about 5, which is pretty good for bone stock. I'll let you know how it is when I upgrade it with some better hop-ups and whatnot. It was fairly accurate for only shooting 428. You can't expect too much out of it. It was shooting consistently about 50 yards with .2s. Then I threw some .28s in it, and it really kind of worked a lot better. It was shooting real accurate, real consistent out to about 60 yards. Now, I used a laser rangefinder to confirm these ranges. That's not just me saying what I think it is. That's exactly what it is. I put some .45s in it, which is what I typically use in my VSR-10 longbow .45 gram BBs. This in a stock form was unable to put hop-up on those, which is, the stock hop-up system really isn't that great. I have since added a top dead center mod on it, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be able to put backspin on just fine, but thus far I haven't had a chance to test it yet. Now we're going to switch to me 2 days ago, and I'm going to talk about the internals, and I'm going to complain about how long it took me to take the damn thing apart. Alright, we are back. Now I'm ready to do an internals review, and it's been about 45 minutes and it was an absolute nightmare. Just give you guys an idea of what we're got going on here. I got pieces and parts all over the place, so, but we got her taken apart. So what did I learn in this experiment regarding the internals? This gun is clearly overbuilt. It's overbuilt for any sniper rifle, but I think it's, for the price point of $150, it is seriously overbuilt, which is good. It's just a pain in the ass. So here's our trigger box. My understanding is this is an APS-2 style. I've only had VSR-10 style sniper rifles. This is the first APS-2 I've ever messed with. So well, that's not true. I had an Echo M24 years ago. That was a real pain in the ass. And this is very similar to the Echo M24 I'm finding as I'm taking it apart. Probably parts coming out of the same factory or many years apart. But here is your trigger box as promised. 90-degree trigger, steel trigger sear. Pretty well built. Springs are what they are, a little weak, but I don't see this breaking anytime soon. For what it's worth, I removed the safety just because it's stupid. I don't want to mess with it. But that's just me. Now, other things I realized. The actual receiver is really, really heavy. That's where a lot of that weight comes from. Definitely thicker than the VSR-10, and where the VSR-10 uses little nylon rings in here to keep the cylinder absolutely center in the receiver, this just adds more metal. So I mean, you can see it's pretty thick in there, and so there's no need for nylon rings. Those rings tend to fail every once in a while in VSR-10, so you don't have to worry about that with this gun. I'll be honest, I'm kind of impressed with everything I see going on here. Cylinder head, brass, pretty stout. Got an O-ring on it, so it gets a good seal. Getting this thing off was a nightmare. This cylinder, now the cylinder, my understanding is it looks longer. It looks longer than a VSR-10. Bernie told me this was stainless steel. I think it's aluminum. I'm not sure, but it does definitely look like it's a high quality part there. Getting this piston head, or this cylinder head, off this cylinder was a freaking nightmare. I don't know what the hell they put it on there with. Some monstrous Loctite. I had to get some WD-40 in there, spray it in there, use a heat gun, use some vice grips. It was an absolute nightmare. That's what I spent most of the time doing, is trying to get this damn thing off. I got most of the gun apart in about 10 minutes. So I don't know who put it together in the factory that day, but thank you. And here is our piston. Sure enough, it's an aluminum piston, and well built, sturdy. You know, most of your airsoft sniper rifles have plastic pistons. It's a failure point, and they fail pretty early. This one, you know, I'm looking at the edge on here where that sear is going to grab that piston. This is well built. This is solid. Here's your spring guide. It's not a bearing spring guide. There's no ball bearings down here, but I prefer them like this, and this thing's steel. So yeah, I got a magnet here, and magnet sticks to it, so it's steel. Wow, this is all really well built. So internally, it's looking like a great gun. Highly recommend it for the internals. Now the hop-up leaves something to be desired. So here's our hop-up, and here's where we're going to start running into issues. It is a VSR-10 style, but it's smaller. It's a little bit smaller diameter, so you can't put a VSR-10 hop-up in here. I've looked all over the wilds of the internet for the last 2 days trying to locate an aftermarket hop-up system for this, and I can't find one. So, you know, gonna have to make do with this. I think, now I've seen reviews that say there's no definitive clicks on your adjustments, and that's not true. I'm feeling the clicks right now. Are they overly stout and strong? No. Our little lever here, if you can see it, you can hear the clicks, but that lever is made out of plastic. I don't have a lot of faith in that holding up for a long period of time. I know your hop-up arm is VSR-10 compatible, so you can upgrade those. Honestly, I think I'm just going to switch to a top dead center mod and not wait for this to fail. I'm just going to upgrade it now. The barrel, brass barrel, I've been told it's a 608, and I haven't taken this apart yet. I'm also told it's a bridged barrel. It takes VSR-10 buckings. So, internals, overbuilt, look great. And I'll be back in a second, and we're going to talk about performance. Alright, welcome back to the present. So, since that last internals video, I've done some modest upgrades to this. I've installed a maple leaf 70-degree hop-up bucking in it, and I installed the top dead center mod right here. I haven't had much chance to shoot it since I've done that. I'm sure that will alleviate all the problems that I'm having with the hop-up not being able to put spin on the .45 gram BBs. I'm sure it'll do it just fine now. I also ordered a new hop-up arm for it. It was like 10 bucks. Is that critical? No, I think this one will probably work just fine for a long time. But it is plastic, and plastic will break. So I upgraded to a metal one. So I'm looking to upgrade the spring. I'll probably put an M150 or an M160 in here. This rifle does use VSR-10 and APS-2 springs. It'll use either one of them. So I'm going to put a new spring in it, hopefully bump it up somewhere north of 500 FPS. Like I said, right now it's sitting at 428. I'd love it to be about 525, 530, but we'll see. I don't like getting too close to 550 because then when I use .45s, it'll jewel creep over 2.8. And I'm number one concern is the safety of, you know, the people I'm shooting at. That should be your concern as well. So, thus I try to keep my jewels down when I use .45s under that 2.8 limit, so it's safe for everybody. What I think totally about the gun. Takeaway. If you are thinking about getting into sniping, bolt action snipers and airsoft, this is definitely the way to go if you're on a budget. If you're not on a budget and you want to spend $500 on a Novritsch SSG 24, by all means, go for it. Personally, I've shot that gun. I don't think it's worth the money. But hey, if you got money to burn, you got money to burn. This gun, for the money, you cannot beat it. 150 bucks, and you get all these excellent internals, throw a better spring in it, throw on a hop-up. For well under $200, you're off to the races, and you probably have a gun that'll hang with a $500 VSR-10. So you really can't go wrong with it. I'm thoroughly impressed. I know why Bernie told me to review it, because it's just an excellent gun. So in the near future, I'm going to put some more parts on this, put a scope on it, paint it, blah blah blah, better spring, and then I'll do a comparison video between this and my VSR-10, which of course is a very expensive, well-built sniper rifle with a bunch of time on it, and I'm willing to bet money that this is going to hang with it shot for shot. So that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.